What would you do if this incredible love story changed everything? Discover the touching truth. Sarah woke before dawn, the city still cloaked in darkness. She pulled her worn sneakers on, sighing as the flickering neon sign of the diner illuminated the street like a morose beacon. She maneuvered through the morning chill, heart heavy with the weight of bills piled high and dreams for her son, Jake, slipping through her fingers like sand. He wanted to play college football, but it felt like a distant star, unattainable. Each shift in the diner was a whirlwind of clattering dishes and eager chatter, once vibrant but now barely clinging to life. Yet amidst all the exhaustion, there was a flicker of hope. Tom, a veteran with kind eyes that held untold stories, who became a refuge for Sarah. They met over pancakes and coffee, sharing laughter that danced in the space between them. He reminded her of the joy she thought was lost, igniting a spark within her that she hadn't felt in ages. Every sweet moment they shared felt fragile, a delicate connection built over empathy and understanding. Tom spoke of his battles with PTSD, and Sarah opened up about her struggles, her daily grind hidden behind her smile. They were two wounded souls trying to mend each other, with each shared laugh stitching a thread of resilience between them. But reveries of love can often be shattered. Just when Sarah thought she was building a new life, her estranged father, a successful businessman with condescending views on her humble life, resurfaced. The moment he walked into the diner, everything shifted. His voice was sharp, laced with disdain. "This is where you've ended up?" He sneered, glancing at Tom. A chill swept through Sarah, cutting deeper than she expected. Torn between the family legacy she had rebelled against and the new love blooming in her heart, she felt unmoored. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Fingers trembling, she watched as Tom absorbed the weight of her father's words. Yet there was a quiet strength in him that anchored her even as doubts flooded her mind. She found herself at a crossroads, her head spinning with her father's elitism clashing against the love she felt for Tom. As Tom stepped onto the field of a local charity football league, he began to shine, garnering recognition from the community that once viewed him as just another lost soul. The attention felt like both a blessing and a curse, as whispers filled the air. Faces turned her way with expectations. She wanted to cheer him on, but fear wrapped its cold fingers around her heart. Eyes closed, Sarah understood the heaviness of choice pressing down on her. The looming showdown with her father was unavoidable now. As she prepared for that confrontation, the stakes felt impossibly high. Would she challenge the elitism that had hurt her, or let it dictate the future? With resolve, she took a deep breath, ready to rewrite her narrative. The night was charged with her decision hanging in the air, an emotional cliffhanger, leaving her path unresolved and her heart racing with anticipation. The morning sun peeked shyly over the horizon, casting a golden hue on the diner that felt more alive than ever. Yet, Sarah lingered in the back, her heart torn between the two men who represented contrasting worlds. Tom was the warmth of the sun breaking through a cold winter, while her father was an intimidating shadow looming over her decisions. As the diner filled with regulars, a sense of urgency bloomed in her chest. She needed to confront her father, to reclaim her life and assert the choices that were right for her and Jake. This wasn't just about her, but for every dream they shared. Jake's football scholarship, a new beginning. Tom was there too, solid and supportive, glowing with a passion for the game, showing Sarah that hope was still within reach. The day of the confrontation felt surreal. Every tick of the clock intensified her resolve. When she finally stepped into the world of high-rise buildings and glossy cars, the domain her father inhabited, she felt small yet fierce. The air thickened with tension as she pushed through the upscale restaurant doors, her heart pounded. "Sarah, there you are," her father exclaimed, his smile deceptively inviting, quickly turning as he spotted the smudge of grease on her apron. "You're looking rustic." "Dad," she said, steadying her breath, "we need to talk." His brows knitted together, irritation flickering across his face. "Talk? About what?" "Your life choices. Your job. This ridiculous long shot you have for Jake? It's exactly about that, she said, her voice rising. You don't get to decide my life or Jake's. I've worked hard to build a home for us despite what you think. For a moment they stood locked in a standoff, his disdain battling against her unwavering spirit. Maybe it was the reflection of Tom's strength coursing through her veins, but as she spoke, she felt a surge of courage. I'm proud of who I am and what I've become. Proud? He sneered, crossing his arms. You're wasting your potential in a place like this with people like him. He gestured toward the door's entrance where Tom, looking intently determined, was stepping in. Tom is more than just some guy, she shot back, feeling the weight of every word. He has fought through battles you'd never understand. He deserves my respect, my love more than what you've ever given. You may see success through wealth, but I see it through love and loyalty. Her father's expression changed, a mixture of confusion and disbelief. You're choosing him over everything I've built for you? It's not about choosing him over anything, she said, it's about finally choosing myself. As the confrontation escalated, Tom walked over, his presence like a steady flame against the storm. He placed a hand on her shoulder. Sarah, you don't have to face this alone. He looked directly at her father. I respect your concerns, sir. But Sarah has made a life full of love and resilience. Maybe it's time to recognize that. A charged silence surrounded them. The restaurant felt oddly still, the hum of conversations muffled, every eye drawn to this unexpected crisis. Sarah's heart raced. She had taken a step off a precipice. Would her father ever accept her life? Would she truly find solace with Tom? Or had she chased an impossible dream? As her father opened his mouth to respond, a familiar face in the crowd caught her eye. It was Jake, standing there with confusion etched across his young features. Mom? He asked softly, uncertainty coloring his voice. In that moment, the gravity of their choices bore down heavier than before. The stakes were rising, not just for her but for Jake. What would happen next, as her heart met her son's searching gaze? Would she be brave enough to defend the world she decreated? The air felt electric as Sarah's gaze locked onto Jake's wide, innocent eyes. His presence amplified the weight on her shoulders. She could almost hear her heart thumping in her chest, each beat a call to action, a plea for courage. Mom, what is going on? Jake's voice trembled slightly, his little hands clenching the hem of his shirt. He had a way of cutting through chaos with a single question. The look on his face broke her heart. This wasn't what she wanted for him. She didn't want him to see the confrontation, the tension, the fear that lurked in every corner of their lives. Jake, she said, softening her tone, glancing between her father and Tom. It's just a discussion about choices. You know I always want the best for you. She reached out instinctively, wanting to pull him close and shield him from the storm brewing at that moment. Her father stepped forward, his expression hardening, ready to unleash a cascade of concerns about her choices. You don't want this life for him, Sarah, he stated, his voice dripping with authority. How can you claim to give him the best when you're living in a fantasy? Tom's grip on her shoulder tightened slightly, a silent reminder of unity. She could feel it. His strength was becoming her own. Stop! Jake burst out, his eyes narrowing. I just want everyone to be okay. Mom, please just tell Grandpa I'm fine. I were happy. His voice cracked, filled with desperate resolve. Sarah's heart shattered a little more. This was the child she had fought for, the dream she wanted to protect, and now he felt caught in this collision of worlds. Jake, she said softly, kneeling to be level with him, I need you to trust me. This is about more than just us. It's about being who we are, and not letting anything or anyone hold us back. She felt the heat of unshed tears prick her eyes. He shifted on his feet, sensing the weight of her words but still looking lost. But what if it all falls apart? A deep silence fell over the restaurant. Sarah's father seemed to soften for a fleeting moment, caught off guard by Jake's raw honesty. Falling apart isn't an option, Tom interjected gently, meeting Jake's gaze. Every family has its struggles, but what matters is how we face them. You may feel afraid right now, but love can get you through it. Jake's brow furrowed, his young mind struggling to grasp the depths of their conversation. Mom, if it makes you happy, I want you to be happy, he whispered, the sincerity in his voice hitting Sarah like a gust of wind. But what about Grandpa? Each word felt like an anchor dragging her deeper into her internal turmoil. Could she really choose happiness and love while her father stood as a looming threat? Jake, I'll find a way to make this work. I promise, she vowed fervently, squeezing his hand. Is that enough? Her father stepped back, skepticism thick in the air. You think love is all that it takes? It takes more than just desire. It takes stability, security. Love is the foundation, she interrupted, standing back up, pushing through the quaking in her heart. It's all I've ever wanted for him. To grow up knowing he can pursue his dreams without fear. Sarah's father opened his mouth again, but this time she sensed a reluctance in him, a hesitation born of the weight her words carried. The tension held the whole diner captive, holding breath, waiting for a spark. What if it doesn't work out? He finally asked, a challenge sitting heavily on his tongue. Yet there was something softer, buried there beneath his pride. Then I'll make sure we find another way, she replied, standing resolute, hope flickering bright in her heart. For me, for Jake, for us. The moment looped, pregnant with possibility. The air tasted of both fear and defiance. It was time they all faced the truth, whatever that might be. As the crowd resumed their murmurs, Sarah took a step toward her father, ready to shatter the barriers they had built between them. But just then the back door swung open, and the familiar figure of Betty, an old friend from the diner, walked in with a slice of news. That could tip their fragile balance. What are you doing here? Sarah called out, overwhelmed but hopeful. Betty's eyes darted to the scene unfolding in front of her. I think you all need to hear this, she began, and Sarah's stomach nodded. What could be coming next? Would it shatter everything she had fought for, or give them all a chance to rewrite their story? Betty stood at the entrance, her presence drawing every eye in the diner. A hush fell over the room, the kind that felt like hovering smoke, thick and heavy. Sarah's heart raced, fear twisting in her gut. She could sense the weight of Betty's message before a single word escaped her lips. What's going on? Betty asked, concern lacing her voice. Just family matters, Sarah replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask than a gesture of warmth. But it didn't convince anyone. Jake's eyes widened and he moved closer, instinctively seeking protection from both his mother and Tom. This is important, Betty insisted, stepping forward. I wouldn't interrupt unless it was urgent. I just got off the phone with your mother. She's in the hospital. The world around Sarah shattered as the words echoed in her ears. Hospital. Anxiety clawed at her throat. What? Why? The question stumbled out, panic rising to the surface. Betty's expression softened. She fell. They say it's serious, Sarah. You need to go to her. All of Sarah's thoughts collided like a wrecking ball. The tension of the moment dissolved, replaced by a different kind of fear. Had she had a chance to mend things with her mother? The thought shot through her like cold water. Memories flooded her mind, the visits that felt strained, the phone calls that ended too quickly. Jake clutched at her hand, feeling the shift in her emotions. Is Grandma okay? His innocent voice cut through her haze. I don't know, sweetie, Sarah replied, her words thick with uncertainty. But we need to go see her. Tom squeezed her shoulder, grounding her. I'll drive us, he said firmly. She met his eyes, and for the first time she didn't feel alone in this storm. Her father stepped forward, the hardness in his features, softness suddenly, revealing worry. I'll come too, he said, an unexpected offer hanging in the air. The admission, laden with the heavy burden of years spent arguing and avoiding, felt almost unnatural. Okay, Sarah replied, surprised by the sudden unity that formed like a fragile thread. As they moved towards the exit, Sarah couldn't help but glance back at Betty, who stood watching with a knowing look. Thank you for coming, Sarah murmured, squeezing Jake's hand tighter. Just get to her, Betty urged, determination evident in her voice. Outside, the sun hit her face like a slap, sharp and glaring. The car ride was quiet, hearts heavy and minds racing. Sarah felt squeezed between her past and the unknown ahead. As they reached the hospital, the frayed edges of her world threatened to unravel completely. We'll figure this out together, Tom whispered, reaching for her hand again as they stepped through those double doors, into the sterile scent of antiseptic and uncertainty. The hospital hummed with activity around them, nurses hurriedly shuffling through the corridor, patients in wheelchairs quietly waiting. Every footstep echoed like a drumbeat in Sarah's ears. Fear seeped into her bones, but alongside it pulsed the courage she had summoned for Jake, and now for her mother. As they approached the nurse's station, a wave of anxiety washed over her. "I'm here for my mother, Lydia Walker," she said, urgency lacing her words. The nurse looked up, her face pale and serious. "Please take a seat." At this moment she's in surgery. The words felt like a physical blow. Surgery. Sarah's heart raced. "How serious is it? Will she be okay?" The nurse met her gaze, sadness in her eyes. "I'll let you know as soon as I have more information." The unknown loomed over them, a thick fog obscuring any hope. And all Sarah could think of was the battles they never fought. Finally, she turned to her father, who stood stiffly beside her, lost in his own turmoil. "Do you really want to do this?" she asked quietly. The question hung between them, raw and unresolved, begging for a truth she couldn't yet grasp. But just then, a commotion broke out down the hall, a loud argument punctuated by crashing sounds. Sarah's gut twisted. What was happening now? When she turned back, the look in her father's eyes was a mixture of determination and fear, as if he also sensed that something in their world was about to change forever. Would this family confrontation lead to reconciliation? Or would it push them all further apart when they needed each other most? She stepped forward, ready for whatever news awaited them, knowing deep down that the answers could unravel or heal them. The argument intensified, voices rising, punctuated by the slamming of a door. Sarah noticed the commotion wasn't coming from behind her, but rather from a waiting area just down the hall. She exchanged a worried glance with Tom before moving cautiously toward the sound. "You can't just dictate what's best for her." A woman's voice blared, full of fervor. It was sharp, cutting through the usually subdued atmosphere of the hospital. A man's response followed, his tone just as heated. "I have every right to be involved in my mother's care. You think you know her better than I do?" Curiosity and confusion propelled her closer, and soon she saw a pair of anxious figures, a young woman, perhaps in her 20s with red-rimmed eyes, and a middle-aged man, his face hardened by worry. They were standing outside the door to one of the rooms, hands gesturing wildly as their voices tangled in frustration. "Is everything okay?" Sarah called out, her voice trembling between concern and the urgency of her own situation. The young woman turned, blinking through unshed tears. "That's my mother in there. I just don't know what to do." She took a shaky breath, visibly trying to regain her composure. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset anyone." Sarah's heart ached at the sight of such raw pain, recognizing the fear in the girl's eyes, a mirror to her own. "It's okay," Sarah said softly. "You seem worried about your mom. Is she in surgery too?" "Yeah," the man replied, desperation lacing his words. "My sister thinks the doctors are making the wrong decisions, but they won't even let us see her yet." The conversation sent a ripple of realization through her. It struck her that they were not alone. This hospital was a web of families, each battling their own fears, trying to navigate an uncertain path. Just like her. "I know it feels like you're waiting forever," she said, stepping closer. "We're all in the same struggle. My mom is in surgery now too." A profound silence followed her words, and Sarah could see the tension in the families ease just slightly as they connected over their shared experience. She exchanged a glance with Jake, who was holding Tom's hand tightly, oblivious to the deeper layers of the moment but feeling the shift nonetheless. From the corner of her eye, she caught her father edging forward, his stoic demeanor faltering. He had lived through similar fears, and she sensed that for the first time, he felt the weight of their shared history. "Sometimes," he said, his voice cracking, "we just have to trust the doctors. They want to help." But the girl shook her head, grief bubbling beneath the surface. "What if we lose her? I don't want to make the wrong choice and regret it forever." Fresh waves of worry crashed over Sarah as she felt the weight of those words. The fear of regret loomed large, casting a shadow on what she needed to confront with her own mother. The missed chances and lost moments hung in the air, threatening to swallow her up. "Maybe," Sarah offered tentatively, "before it's too late, we should think about what we really want to say to them," in case she hesitated, unable to finish. The young woman nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "You're right." Just then the nurse reappeared, her demeanor serious. "I have an update regarding Lydia Walker's surgery." All eyes turned toward her, tension rising once more as hope and dread intertwined. Sarah's heart pounded, catching in her throat. This was it, the moment that could rewrite everything. What would she learn about her mother? About herself? Would this be an opening to the conversations they had avoided for too long? Or would it simply deepen the divide? As the nurse approached, Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself for what lay ahead. The nurse took a step closer, her expression betraying years of experience in delivering news both good and bad. Her hands clasped firmly in front of her. She glanced from Sarah to the young woman, sensing the gravity of their shared anxiety. "I'm sorry for the wait," she said, her voice lowering to a calming tone. "The surgery went well, but your mother is in recovery now, and we need to keep her under close observation for a while." Relief surged through Sarah, warm and overwhelming. She grasped Tom's hand tighter, her fingers squeezing as if to anchor herself in that precious moment. The young woman's breath hitched, eyes widening with hope. The man let out a slow sigh that mixed relief with an undercurrent of uncertainty. But the nurse continued, her gaze turning serious. "I must remind you that recovery can bring complications. It's essential to have patience and hold on to hope, but we need to monitor her very closely." The air thickened with words left unsaid, emotions dancing between the lines. Sarah felt the urge to question the nurse further, needing to understand every aspect of her mother's condition. Thoughts whirled. What if there was more to this? What if complications arose? "Thank you," Sarah finally managed, her voice trembling. She stepped back, letting the news settle, a mixture of gratitude and fear swirling within her. "This is a lot for us to handle all at once," the young woman said, her voice small. "We've been through so much already." "I know exactly what you mean," Sarah responded, her heart racing again as she looked the girl in the eye. "It's like we're on this roller coaster we didn't choose to ride. And every twist just makes you feel a little more lost," the man added, wiping his brow with the back of his hand. "What if things don't get better?" This man, her father, had once looked that way, eyes filled with doubt as he tried to hold everything together. In that moment, an idea sparked in Sarah's mind, a flicker of determination. "What if we all shared our stories?" she proposed. "We could connect, support one another. It might help us figure out how to face whatever comes next." "But what if our stories are too dark?" The girl's fear punctured the moment, and Sarah saw that they all wore shadows of their own battles. "Or too messy," the man replied, shaking his head. "Sometimes we don't even know how to explain it ourselves." "Maybe that's okay," Sarah encouraged, stepping a little closer. "Let us just talk. If we can voice our fears, maybe it won't feel so heavy." As her words hung in the air, hope flickered to life in the dim hospital corridor. The man's face softened just a little. The girl nodded slowly, uncertainty still reflected in her eyes, but the walls around her seemed to shift, if only slightly. Just then, a ruckus erupted at the entrance to the waiting area. A gurney rolled by, a flurry of doctors and nurses trailing behind with urgent footsteps. Adrenaline surged through the room as the tension ratcheted back up. "What was that?" Tom whispered, eyes wide. The timestamp of their fleeting relief turned back into a gripping moment of uncertainty. Sarah glanced at the nurse, questions tumbling through her mind once more. It felt like a turning point where everything could shift yet again. "Is that another patient?" she asked, starting to feel the thrill of the unpredictability gnawing at her. "Stay close," the nurse replied, her expression shifting to professional resolve. As more chaos poured through the corridor, Sarah realized that this storm wouldn't end anytime soon. Each moment brought them closer to revelations, to connections, but also to unanswered questions that loomed heavier than the last. And just then, a voice broke through the tumult, shouting for help. Sarah's heart raced, knowing the unpredictability of this place was just beginning. What would she discover next? The chaos faded into a blur around Sarah as her heart pounded in her ears. She felt Tom's grip tighten on her hand, grounding her in the madness unfolding. The commotion of running feet and distant voice filled the air with a sense of urgency. "Keep calm," the nurse urged, glancing back quickly before hurrying to join her colleagues. Sarah stood still, straining to make sense of the noise. Her eyes darted from the frantic scene near the entrance to the wide, flickering fluorescent lights above. Shadows of uncertainty loomed large, creeping into the corners of her mind like dark clouds. "What if your mom is next?" Tom whispered, drawing nearer and lowering his voice as if the very thought could summon it into reality. She felt a shiver run through her, her attention snapping back to the present. "Stop," she insisted, shaking her head as if to dispel the fear. "No. She will be okay." But doubt anchored in her mind, and the uneasy feeling in her gut twisted into a knot. She had to fight it. "Let us go check on the nurse," she suggested, more to rally herself than anything. With hesitant steps, they moved toward the front of the waiting area. The din of rushing medical staff filled the space, anxiety pooling like water around their feet. Every raised voice, every hurried action, made Sarah's heart race harder. They reached the nurse's station, where a cluster of doctors surrounded a doctor while shouting quick instructions. "What is happening?" Sarah finally called out, her voice trembling. One of the doctors turned, eyes weary but kind. "Just a patient in distress. We're handling it," he assured her, but the tone carried an unintentional urgency in it. "Your mother's case is stable. Please stay where you are." Overwhelmed, Sarah stepped back, her chest tightening with a mix of relief and concern. The weight of the moment crashed over her, blurring her ability to think straight. All she could feel was the urgency of connection with those around her, whether it was Tom or the stranger in her corner. The young woman, still under the weight of her own fears, approached. "What if we don't hear anything soon?" she asked, a mixture of curiosity and dread etched on her features. Sarah turned to her, instantly wanting to offer comfort. "Then we'll just keep waiting and we'll lean on each other. We have to believe this will pass," she said, giving a small, determined smile that surprised her. Tom nodded, the tension in his face easing a bit. "Yeah, we aren't alone. We have each other," he echoed, voice steadier than moments ago. The shadows around them, fear, uncertainty, exhaustion, began to lift just slightly. They stood together, sharing silence filled with unspoken understanding. It was in that quiet connection that a fragile hope seemed to settle. But just then, the sound of steel wheels screeched through the air again, accompanied by the erratic shouts of more incoming medical personnel. Sarah's heart dropped. The palpable tension had returned with urgency. What if it's more serious? What if they can't stop it? The young woman's voice, sharp and afraid, sliced through the air like a knife. In that moment, Sarah grappled with their shared fears. "Maybe we can use this. Let us tell more of our stories right here, right now. While we wait. While we have each other," she blurted out, her voice rising now. "We can fight this feeling of being lost together. Don't you see? We'll face whatever is next as a team." Tom and the young woman nodded in agreement. A flicker of determination sparked in their eyes. Maybe sharing their stories would illuminate the shadows lurking in the corners. As they exchanged glances, ready to pull back the weight of their fears together, the chaos around them faded, if only for a moment. But then a gurney flew by, holding a familiar figure. "Mom!" Sarah gasped, the panic surging anew. Everything around her felt like it was spiraling again. Only this time her heart was screaming for answers. What would this moment reveal? The world around Sarah fell silent, save for the frantic sounds of the gurney's wheels echoing across the tiled floor. Those familiar figures huddled over her mother, faces obscured by masks, added an unsettling layer to the chaos. The sight of her mother being wheeled past sent a jolt of fear deep into Sarah's core. "Mom!" Sarah gasped again, the word hanging in the air, a prayer and a plea all at once. Tom reached out, pulling her back gently as she tried to follow. "Wait. Let them help her," he urged softly, yet the undercurrent of worry in his voice betrayed him. Yet it was impossible to just stand still. Each second felt like an hour as the gurney disappeared around the corner. What if something's wrong? She managed to murmur, even as she wanted to believe the doctor's earlier assurances. But how could she, when all she felt was dread clouding her heart? The young woman beside her, who had been anxiously biting her nails, turned with wide eyes. "Is there someone we can talk to?" she asked, desperation lacing her tone. Sarah could see the fear mirrored in her eyes, raw and unyielding. "Let us find someone," Tom said resolutely. They moved as one, united by a shared anxiety, weaving through the growing crowd of doctors and nurses. As they approached the desk again, Sarah's heart raced. "Excuse me," she called out, voice steady despite the tremor building inside her. "We just saw a gurney with my mother. Can we get an update?" The nurse looked up from her tablet. She had tired eyes, but they softened slightly. "I understand your concern. Your mother is in good hands. Dr. Patel will be with you shortly." But how can you be sure? Sarah questioned, her voice rising. What if something happens? I listen. This can take time, the nurse interjected, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling inside Sarah. You have to trust us, okay? We'll do everything we can. Tom squeezed Sarah's hand, grounding her once more. She could feel the warmth of his skin, a connection in this tempest of emotions. We need to hold on to hope, Sarah. We'll get through this together. His reassurance felt like a lifebuoy tossed amidst stormy seas. As they waited, Sarah's mind swirled with memories of laughter and warmth, thoughts of joyful moments shared with her mom. I can't lose her, she whispered, tears threatening to spill over. No one's losing anyone, the young woman interjected, now firmly standing beside them. We're going to believe she'll be okay. In this moment, let us remind each other why we're here. Not just for ourselves but for her too. Sarah nodded, breathing deeply. They could do this, they could lean on each other. Stories floated between them, tales of family celebrations, adversity, and dreams. Laughter was mixed with tears, making the waiting room feel just a little less suffocating. Suddenly, a familiar voice broke through, sharper than she had expected. Sarah. It was her mother's doctor, Dr. Patel, emerging from the hallway, looking grave yet composed. Her heart raced anew. Was this the moment they had both feared and hoped for? Can we talk? He asked, urgency in his tone. A chill raced down her spine as she stepped towards him. Is she? The doctor's gaze lingered on her a moment too long, leaving Sarah's breath in the balance. Something about the way he looked at her felt like an ache too heavy with unspoken words. In the silence that stretched between them, Sarah knew something was about to change forever. What would she learn next that could reshape everything she held dear? Sarah, Dr. Patel began, his voice softening as he took a step closer, closing the distance. I need you to sit down. The world around her faded into a blur as she sank into the nearest chair, her legs feeling too shaky to hold her. Tom slipped beside her, his presence a firm reminder she wasn't alone in this. Your mother had a critical situation. We managed to stabilize her for now. But he paused, glancing down at his notes, gathering his thoughts like he was choosing each word carefully. But what? Sarah demanded, her voice rising again, urgency spilling over every syllable. Is she going to be okay? Dr. Patel took a deep breath, steadying himself. There are complications that we didn't anticipate, and we need to closely monitor her. I can assure you we're doing everything we can. The words felt like cold water splashing over her heart. Everything. What did that even mean? A hospital filled with machines, beeping and humming, suddenly felt suffocating. Tom squeezed her hand tighter, as if trying to hold back the tide of fear threatening to drown her. When can I see her? Sarah asked, desperation clawing at her throat. Dr. Patel offered a small, empathetic nod. Once she is stable and moved to the ICU, I'll make sure you have access. But it may take some time. Another wave of dread washed over her. ICU? She had heard those letters often enough, but had never imagined they would apply to her mother. Will she know I'm there? His expression softened further, yet it carried an edge of sorrow. We hope so, but it will greatly depend on her condition. I know this is a lot to take in. You're doing great, Sarah. Just hold on to hope. What if hope isn't enough? She whispered, her tears finally spilling over. The weight of her fears became real, crashing down like glass shattering. Would hope truly be enough to pull her mother back from the brink? Tom hesitated for a moment before responding. Hope is more powerful than we realize, he said softly, capturing her gaze. It connects us, drives us even when we feel lost. Suddenly, the young woman from before, who had been silently absorbing the conversation, spoke up. Her eyes were bright yet filled with anguish. What's your mother's name? She asked, clearly wanting to connect more deeply in this sea of uncertainty. Carla, Sarah replied, surprised to hear her own voice break through the noise. Let us keep her spirit alive. Let us hold a space here for Carla. For her recovery, the woman said fiercely. We can share stories, memories, anything we can do to rise above this. It was strange how the space around them felt a little less heavy. Sarah could see Tom nodding along too, as a collective sense of purpose began to gather between them. Okay, Sarah breathed. Okay, let us do it. As they began sharing stories, laughter broke through the tension in the room. It felt surreal, this blend of joy and sorrow. stitching them together in a tapestry of hope. Each shared memory felt like a candle flickering against the dark unknown. After what felt like hours, there was a commotion from down the hall. Nurses passed with a sense of urgency. Sarah's heart began to race again. She looked to Tom, panic striking his features as well. "What is happening?" she whispered, fear wrapping around her again like a thick fog. Dr. Patel's voice was suddenly sharp, calling for attention from the staff. "We need an update on Carla. Now." Sarah's breath hitched. Something had shifted, and it was threatening to slip beyond their grasp. The fading echoes of laughter felt like brittle glass underfoot. In that moment, Sarah knew that this was more than just a waiting game. It would be a fight for her mother's life, and she needed to be ready for whatever came next. What else would this night hold? Would their togetherness grow? Or would they crumble? The air was thick with anticipation as the waiting room felt like a battleground, an emotional war zone painted with fear and hope. Sarah's heart raced, thrumming like a drum in her chest, each beat echoing her mother's name, Carla. Tom's hand gripped hers tightly, a reassuring presence as the chaos around them intensified. The tension sharpened in the air, prickling at Sarah's skin. "Stay with us, Carla," she whispered silently, channeling every ounce of hope in her heart. As the minutes ticked by, it felt like the world froze. Doctors and nurses bustled in and out, their swift movements an unsettling reminder that life hung in fragile balance. The young woman with tear-streaked cheeks shifted anxiously as she cast glances toward the doors. "Is there anything we can do?" she murmured, desperation spilling over her words. Tom broke the silence, his voice low and steady. "Let us keep talking about her. Share the good times, remind ourselves why we're here, why she is fighting." Sarah nodded, grateful for his insight. "We should remember the best moments. The laughter, the love," she urged, clinging tightly to Tom's hand as they recounted silly family trips, the aroma of her mother's cooking wafting through their memories. Laughter broke through the wall of worry, but guilt simmered just beneath the surface. Would this bond, this love, be enough to shield them from whatever lay ahead? Just then, Dr. Patel re-entered, and the room fell silent. Tension hung in the air, heavy like thick fog. Sarah's breath caught in her throat, eyes wide, searching for any sign of relief in the doctor's expression. "Firstly, I want to assure you that Carla is stable. However," he said, his eyes boring into Sarah's, "we need to be very careful moving forward." "Can we see her?" Sarah asked, the urgency in her voice unmistakable. Dr. Patel hesitated, his brow furrowing as he shuffled his notes. "Yes, but I must warn you. She will be in and out of consciousness. It's crucial that you provide comfort and familiarity. She needs you now more than ever." A rush of relief flooded through Sarah, but it was laced tightly with lingering fear. "We can do that," she stated resolutely, squeezing Tom's hand again as if it could solidify her resolve. As they approached the ICU, Sarah found herself stepping onto a precipice of emotions. The antiseptic smell of the hospital stung in her nose, but it also brought an odd sense of familiarity. This was where she had often sat with her mother during earlier years, always believing they would find their way through challenges together. Inside, Carla lay fragile yet alive, memories flickering across Sarah's mind. She remembered fishing trips, late-night talks on the porch, and the sound of her mother's laugh bubbling over hot cocoa on snowy days. Moments turned into a heartbeat as they gathered around her, their bodies softly vibrating with shared love. "Hey Mom," Sarah whispered, drawing closer, holding back tears. "It's me. Just like old times, remember the camping trips?" She fought to keep her voice steady, eyes searching for a flicker of recognition on Carla's still face. Beneath the sterile lights, Carla's lips twitched slightly, a subtle smile that ignited a spark of hope in the dim room. Tom stepped forward, squeezing Sarah's shoulder. "You fought hard, Carla. We're here with you, your family," he said, his words soothing and steady, reaching into the depth of her mother's soul. "Keep talking to her," the young woman beside Sarah suggested softly, stepping back but remaining close. It was as if they had become a united front, blending their hopes into a single thread of connection. One by one they shared their stories, the memories flowing freely, laughter spilling between moments of sadness. Each shared word seemed to vibrate in the air, weaving a tapestry of love that enveloped Carla with warmth. As Carla fought through her haze, the room resonated with a beautiful cacophony of voices uniting in support. Names, places, sights, sounds, memories poured forth like a river, forming a bridge back to life. The minutes passed and then Sarah noticed something surprising. A single tear trickled down Carla's cheek, her fingers beginning to twitch under the blankets. "Mom!" Sarah gasped, emotion bubbling up. "Can you hear us?" With a deep, shaky breath, Carla's eyes fluttered, revealing glimpses of her spirit trapped behind clouds of pain and medication. Those familiar blue eyes slightly opened, meeting Sarah's so vulnerable yet filled with the flicker of fight. "I'm here." Carla's voice was faint but light, filled with uncertain warmth that cast away shadows of despair. A wave of relief washed over Sarah. Hope surged through her veins, crackling with possibility. The emotional dam that had held her fragile heart together began to break. "We've missed you so much, Mom. You're our strength. Keep fighting for us." The warmth of connection filled the sterile room once more as moments morphed into something magical. "Love," Tom said softly, standing beside Sarah, "is stronger than fear. Every shared story, every bit of laughter, it builds this strength." Minutes turned into hours as they took turns holding Carla's hand, sharing dreams, hopes for the future, and the stories of bright moments still ahead. Jake clutched tightly to his mother, feeling the pulse of their collective love resonate through every ounce of doubt. Moments enveloped them like arms wrapping around. They realized that through sorrow they found unity, through fear they cultivated love. And when Sarah's father stepped closer, taking a trembling breath, it was as if their broken past held the potential for healing. "We can move forward," he choked out, his voice thick with emotion. Sarah reached out, the distance closing as they two began to weave a story of reconciliation. The weight of the world didn't disappear, but it became a shared burden that felt a little less heavy when lifted together. Hope flickered in the air, breathing life back into a tale that could redefine what it meant to be a family. Finally, Sarah stepped back, looking at each face in the room. "No matter what comes next, we'll face it together." We owe that to her and to ourselves. As the day broke with a new dawn, love echoed brightly in the hearts of those gathered. Amid uncertainty, their spirits formed the thread that would weave new beginnings, forever shaping their transforming story. A journey of healing had started, and for the first time in a long time, Sarah felt an unshakable belief rising. They would be okay. They had made it this far together. This was not the end, but rather, the hopeful beginning of a profound transformation through the power and the beauty of love. Don't wait not even one more second to share this incredible journey with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now to not miss out on exclusive stories like this one. And while you're here, leave a like now to feed the algorithm and unlock more heartwarming experiences. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. Let us connect over this inspiring moment. This is the moment to show your support.